have you that have inside air or air applications. They may be using air tools. One thing that we see a lot with the filter regulator lubricator, or I'm going to refer to as FRLs, is that we have the pipe guys, we have the hose guys. It's the end of the pipeline, it's the beginning of the hose. Who's going to sell the FRL? Sometimes it just gets left out, and then companies, catalog companies like Grainger, pick it up and sell them. So there's an opportunity out there if you're asking the questions, if you guys are doing pipe work or what have you in there already, opportunity to sell FRLs. We refer to these as the life support system of air tools. And so some terminology of what you'll hear on the field: FRLs, filter, regulator, lubricator, prep units, trios, 1, 2, and 3, combo units, and then piggybacks. So piggybacks refers to not so much a trio, but more of just a filter and a regulator. Could be used in an application where you might not want the lubrication. Can you think of anything that you might not want oil in? Yeah, perfect. Yeah, so a paint booth, you wouldn't want oil getting into that. So, or sometimes tight spaces, and then like an air gun, you wouldn't want oil coming out of an air gun. Huh?
Could be an oil gun.
Yeah. So with FRLs, Dixon stocks 3 of the main manufacturers: Wilkerson, Norgren, and Watts. We have over 60 pages dedicated in the catalog, Section G, pneumatic accessories. And we kind of joke sometimes that we have more in stock of some of these manufacturers than they do themselves. So again, with our delivery, you'll get most of these items the next day. So there's also we carry 7 of the 10 different types of FRL units, whether that be just the filter, just the regulator, just the lubricator, or piggybacks, which are filters and regulators. And then we also have mini combo units as well. So kind of understanding terminology, you guys are probably all familiar with PSI, pounds per square inch. Maybe?
Part of it.
Okay, yeah, so that's the air pressure that the compressor generates inside the tank. And then there's also another term used for filter regulator lubricators, and that's SCFM, that's standard cubic feet per minute. And so that actually changes depending on the pressure of the air in the compressor. So that's just something to kind of keep in the back of your mind, is that's the measurement that we're kind of looking for. So the first thing in FRLs would be, or actually I should say, where there's a need. So coming out of a compressor, temperatures are very hot inside that compressor, sometimes 100 degrees hotter than ambient. Then it goes down the line, then it cools, condensation builds up, and then condensation actually goes to pipe scale, which then you have all these particles and moisture in the line. So compressed air, there you go, builds up moisture and dirt. You don't want that getting to your tools or any of your machinery in the plant. So that's the need right there. And then from a safety standpoint and longevity of your tools or whatever you're using in your facility. And then some tools require lubrication, so that helps keep with the life. So the first one on our FRL list would be the filter. So now there's three main filters this can be broken down into. It's your general purpose filter. So this one's used the most in applications where water and particles are being taken out. So you'll see the general purpose one being used or asked for the most. Then we have the coalescing oil removal filter. So just like in the name, that's something that would be used if you want to remove oil. And then activated carbon. So for the general purpose, it's used for most filter applications. It's available from 1/8 inch to 2-inch pipe. It's used for applications like air manifolds or what we call main headers, tool cylinders, air agitators. And how it works is the air comes in, the air in port, then through centrifugal force, the moisture and the particles are taken out, fall to the bottom, clean air comes out. And so dirty air comes in, clean air comes out. activated carbon would be used to remove oil vapors and odors, and then the coalescing oil filter would be used where very clean oil-free air is required, such as instrumentation or air gauges. You wouldn't want any oil getting into that. We know that's very expensive. So again, the main one would be your general purpose, and that's for most of you, that's what you'd be dealing with. And so besides those three, we also have another one that we call the pre-filter. So essentially a pre-filter would just be a general purpose filter set in line before a more expensive filter like a carbon filter or a coalescing filter. So it takes out most of the bad particles to begin with, the water, the moisture, and kind of is the first line of defense before that other expensive filter is being used, and that just helps with the life of both filters essentially. And so a pre-filter, these are, micron is a measurement, it's actually called a micrometer or a millionth of a meter. And kind of to put it in perspective, so depending upon the manufacturer, 5 microns is the size of a red blood cell. So human red blood cell, very small. This is something that's not going to let much pass through. And then kind of on the other side of it, I think it's 75 microns is actually the width of a human hair, average human hair. So all this falls in between a red blood cell and a human hair. So it's taking a lot of those particulates out in the process. So moving along for filter, regulator, lubricator, our next one would be a regulator. So why would we use this? Because wrong pressure can shorten tool life. We all know that running it too high or too low could reduce performance, waste air, cost money. Those two kind of go hand in hand. So pretty much how the regulator works is it has a control spring which acts on the diaphragm to regulate the pressure. And so it doesn't matter what kind of pressure, I mean it does matter what pressure is coming in, but once it's set to a certain PSI, that's what's going to come out. So if you have 100 PSI coming in and it's set to 40, it's going to regulate that pressure to 40, and then vice versa. If it's 20 coming in and you set it to 40, it's going to regulate it to 40.
You can't generate pressure.
Oh, regulate, turn it down, sorry. Yeah.
Just like when you're in a, you walk into a shop and you hear a compressor kicking on and off and on and off. It's going from 100 to 125 or something, and it's going to regulate it down to, usually they're 90 PSI, but it can't boost the pressure.
We weren't listening.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's
Never
not
mind
too.
then.
And then so there's two different types of regulators, relieving and non-relieving. Can you think what relieving might do? Say if this is set up in a dead end situation where there's no more pipe, all that pressure is getting built up, right? Relieves, it's able to relieve that pressure. The non-relieving, it's not able to relieve that pressure, so you need some kind of other device there to do so. With the regulator, turn it clockwise to increase pressure, counterclockwise decreases pressure. And so the last step on the FRLs is the lubricator. Two main ones, microfog and oil fog. Why would you use a lubricator? Again, going back, subpar tool performance. Some tools require a little bit of oil. It helps with the longevity of the tool and the overall performance, so it doesn't shorten that tool life, and then costly repairs and replacement. So all kind of go hand in hand. Use air tool lubricant only. So the two main, again, microfog and oil fog. Oil fog would be used, so oil fog is green top, microfog is red. So this unit, we actually have a microfog. The oil fog would be used more for heavy lubrication purposes, such as tools or anything that might need to be lubricated with a little bit more oil. Because what you see in the top of an oil fog is actually what's getting dropped and put through, as opposed to a microfog where it's only 10%. Splits it down into really small atom size, as you can see, a little bit smaller here. And the micro comes into play if you want it to cover a larger area. They're able to travel downstream a lot easier because they're smaller. So different applications for each, depending upon
multiple tools. Like one of them's for single, just one, if you have a dedicated. here's my
Oil fog,
workstation.
oil fog would be for single tool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's my workstation, and here's
Yeah.
my thing, but if we're gonna use me and you all using the same line, we want to use the mist so it fogs down and gets to everybody's tool.
Yeah.
And that's, yeah, micro.
Is that green and red an industry standard? I mean,
I believe it's a standard, right?
I don't know,
Or just for Nordgren?
but I know for ours, it also means that if you can fill it under pressure. If it's red, you gotta stop and take the pressure off, so a lot of times guys will put a ball valve or something right in front of it.
Yeah,
But
the
if
green you
it's-
can fill under pressure.
Yeah, you just
Oil
undo the
fog.
cap, that safety cutter offer,
Gotcha.
that's official word.
The cutter offer?
Cutter offer.
Yeah,
What size does that come in?
yes, yes it does.
Every size. But something to keep in mind, assembly.
Sell the global cover offer.
Yeah, right. So installation, again, talking about coming out of the compressor, you know, the hot air, then cooling down, all that condensation building up, pipe scale. So if you had a filter or regulator right off a compressor, however long it takes to get to your air tool, it's still going to build up pipe scale, moisture. So it's better to have the filter, regulator, lubricator, whatever unit you're using, closer to the tool that it's being used for. Makes sense, right? And what's really nice about this is our modular design. We call it our quick clamp. So you know, when something's piped in, we know it's there to stay. Some pipe fitter's gonna have to come by and repair it. This modular design allows you to, you know, if you buy a combo unit or you buy just a filter or regulator or just a lubricator, you can take it out, you know, with a little Allen key or hex screw. And this allows a little bit more versatility and it's easier to change, easier to just service maybe one instead of having the whole unit being taken out, you know, so it saves money there.
Yeah, and it's threaded, so you can still use it with
Yeah.
closed nipples, but just the real pain in the neck with this thing, and people don't repair them as a result of this, because when you're using closed nipples, like Matt said, you gotta get a pipe fitter to get everything in line in the proper orientation and tight, and this way even obviously a sales guy can do it. So you take 2 screws and slide it out, slide it back in, and you can replace the thing in a matter of, you know, 2 minutes.
Yeah. No, it's a lot
Ish.
easier.
But, and that's what, you know, FRLs have been around for 100 years. Well, maybe not that long, but the modular method is relatively new. At this point, it's not cutting edge, but it's still. And so a lot of folks aren't aware of it, and they go, oh, you show them the modular thing, like, oh gee, that's awesome.
Yeah. Is that part of all 3 of the different FRLs you sell, or just?
Well, the Nordgren has the most, right?
Yeah, they have 40% of the market share is Norgren, and it has that. Wilkerson has a
Different system.
Okay.
So it
Yeah,
has a
okay.
thumb screw,
Gotcha.
So slightly different, but
so they won't mate up.
but they still have the modular
But
design.
they're all, and they're all threaded, so you could theoretically use with each other, but you're defeating the modular
Yeah.
concept. But if your, you know, if your filter goes and you replace it, you can gradually make the transition
Right.
over as stuff goes bad, because it's still threaded and modular. So you don't have to throw the baby out with the bathwater. You can just make a gradual change.
Yeah, and then something to keep, you know, in mind. There's arrows on here. You want them to line up. I'll pass it around. Make sure it's all going one direction because they're set up to go one direction.
Right. The regulators is on the underside there.
But I mean, there's a lot of opportunity out there that you might be overlooking now. I know in the last class, somebody said that you guys get some Nordgren from somebody else. It might not be what we carry. No?
Probably not in Northern, I don't know where I got it.
Probably from Penn Air.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're in the town.
We usually only get fittings from them.
Yeah.
Just,
So that's what they probably.
I got Northern for
for.
nitrogen line.
just so
Right
you
now,
guys-
They're thinking of
Where'd you go?
fittings.
You broken now.
I'm sure.
I broke it.
And just so you guys know, you know,
recorded.
like our pricing on this, we're priced so that you guys can compete with Ben Air.
Yeah.
Not specifically them, but I mean,
Right.
we're like, if there's gonna be a job of 600 of them or something, they're gonna smoke you. But if it's gonna be one or two or half a dozen,
good to
you know,
know.
that, our deal with Norgren is you give us the, where we can put our nickel onto it, and then you guys can still be competitive. So just cause there ain't the Norgren guy in town doesn't mean you can't, you know, don't walk away from an order, at least try it, and then find out we're too high and walk away. But we sell Norgren and Watts almost one for one, like, you know, they get a customer that only wants, or I'm sorry, Wilkerson. So
Yeah.
they'll buy Wilkerson from us, cause they're a Norgren distributor, and vice versa for the Wilkerson guy,
Right.
to buy Norgren from us. And so we end up, but Norgren is 40%. Watts, Wilkerson is 20% and Watts is about 10.
And Norgren has more than general purpose
stop
filters and,
Yeah,
yeah,
Who does?
Norgren. Yeah, we carry more of them also, yeah.
but Matt talked about, we carry more
More
Wilkerson.
source, we can quote that.
Already looking. Yeah. And that'll be the next story.
Not get the order.
No, last time I quoted these out,
And I didn't get that order
and I didn't get the order. High five.
But it was awesome.
Yeah,
It was nice being able
Learned a
to
lot.
nothing.
Learned a lot of things.
Yeah. No, but you know, keep us in mind. You guys do a great job with the sanitary, and then a great job with odds and ends in the Dixon catalog. But there's a lot that's in your customer. You know, your
Every
customer base
customer
already
uses those.
has inside
Oh, yeah.
air.
They got, every
Yeah.
customer has those, so you just
Who's
talk to everywhere
selling
else.
it? You know.
Rob Ebner's
And-
probably got parts of those,
Well,
12 of those.
and the Dixon catalogs is great just to kind of look through. It gives you the pressures, and
yeah.
everything's right there. It's just
That's what I
easy.
do. I
Yeah.
usually take
Yeah.
the size they have, and if it's a filter regulator or what it is, and then
Yeah.
the size line, and if it has a gauge or not gauge, you know, just kind of look up, get an
Yeah.
idea.
Exactly. So that's questions to ask. That's what size. Kind of piggybacking off Stamped. You guys are familiar with that. I'm sure it's ingrained in your head. But what size airline piping do you have? How many SCFM do you need? Again, that's what we measured it. Metal bowl, transparent, depending upon the application. Auto drains or manual. Do you want a manual thumb drain, or do you want it set up automatically? Accessibility to refill or drain, just if you're able to get in there often or not. Need a gauge. And then for one tool or multiple, so that kind of the lubricators, are we going to do an oil fog or a micro fog? Is it for just one tool that needs heavy lubrication, or are we going to go down the whole stream with the micro? How much stuff are we trying to get out? Do you have a brand preference? Again, we carry the three big, like Jeff was saying. Norgren carry 40% of them, or they take up 40% of the market, I should say, in FRLs. And then we have Watts and Wilkerson. And then, is it okay to ship today? Because we're able to, unlike directly from the manufacturer. You get the same delivery on most of these. Most of these we have stock ready to go, and you have that next day, like you do for all of the Dixon products. So keep us in mind.
Yeah, and when in doubt, go bigger.
Yeah.
Because you don't want,
Oversized.
the SCFM is important because you don't want this to choke the air tool if it needs, 50 CFM, and you put one of the little minis on there that only allows 20 to go through it, you're not going to be able to run the tool properly. If it's mounted right here and it's easy to get to refill the oil or to dump the water out of the thing or manually drain it out, then you can get away maybe with a little smaller one. But if it's mounted up underneath the table, or we put it up in the rafters because Bubba kept hitting
How
me with
often
the
are you going to go
forklift.
there? Yeah.
I want to go up there once a week. Here I can do once a day, so I'm going to use a bigger one for up there. So it's kind of. But as Matt said, you want it to be as close to the workstation as possible, just to collect as much product out of there.
Now, on the auto drains, do they get purge every once in a while, or how does that?
Yeah, it depends how you have it set up, right?
Yeah.
You can have it.
Well, yeah, there's a float in there, so once the tide
it's-
comes up
okay.
so high, it'll open up and it'll automatically dump the
Okay.
water out of it.
So you have to have a spot, obviously, when it's not overhead, it's gonna.
Right. Well, the bottom is tapped. I think it's eight.
Oh, okay, so you can put a
So you can
pipe
run a
down
drain.
it, okay.
Yeah, yeah. you can
Depends
have
on who's
two
working
to a
under it,
drain.
if you want them to get wet or not.
Yeah. Hey,
Yeah.
Yeah,
work conditions, right?
yeah.
But yeah, keep us in mind that there are a lot of opportunities out there. Current customers already.
Yeah.
And then something else that we just put into our offering.
Chips.
Yeah, go ahead and have it. Wrap it. Pipe repair bandage for temporary. You can pass that around. temporary pipe fixes. If someone's running into a pinch, you know, pipe breaks, starts leaking, instead of shutting it all down, you can wrap that up. So this is what it looks like. Yeah, not edible or microwavable. So you put a little putty on it, then you put that gauze, and then it sets, or a little bit of water too, I should say.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, feel it. It's really.
chances are you're already gonna have a little bit of
I
water.
think it's like 230.
Yeah.
Chances are.
What was it? 360 or 230? What was the pressure?
Yeah, 360.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a decent amount.
The temp was pretty good.
Pretty high.
Doesn't say.
Yeah, I'll get back to you on that.
That's like the,
Not recommended for use with temperature above 150 degrees Celsius. That's pretty hot.
That's pretty
Yeah, it's
high.
high enough. Yeah.
That's like
Yeah, 260.
surface to the sun.
Doesn't matter.
Well,
Yeah,
100
yeah.
is 212, so it's probably
It's up there.
three
Yeah,
something.
it's three something, yeah.
Yeah, hot. HAWT,
360
hot.
and 360.
somewhere around code, right?
Yeah, power route, whatever.
That's good, goes to power route.
Yeah, we have it printed. I'll send a PDF over to you guys. I believe it's 360.
Break your arm.
We
If
have
you
a
break your arm,
small-
we'll wrap you up for 3 hours, man.
It's two different sizes. You have more now?
We have 4 kids.
Oh, 4 kits. Okay. Wasn't it a small and a big?
Well, yeah, they're like 2-inch, whether it's 12 feet long, 25 feet long, 3-inch.
Oh, okay,
12,
lengths.
25, different lengths, I think, so it's, but that, talking about the band, you know, the band
Still waiting on
width,
that
but it's a one and done, so once you open up the package, everything in there you
Yeah, right.
see.
Well, I was gonna
Yeah,
ask you.
yeah, you can't
And they
cut
have
it
a
in
set of
half and
shelf
save
life
some
too.
for next time. It's, you put the whole thing on,
Yeah.
and then
That's
it's
okay.
just.
The bottom layer wrap and then the putty?
Well, you put the putty on first. Yeah, first. Yeah. To kind of seal it.
Just like the current code one.
Stuff it in the crack and
Exactly.
Those, that one you could save though.
rock hard and
It was such a sticky mess, so you don't want
Put that in
to.
your,
It sounds like something.
put that in your
else.
first aid kit for a cast. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Casting material, yeah. Casting
That's what
material.
my cast looked like after I
Yeah.
looked at the first.
Except
one.
with that, you're not even gonna be able to move it all. Yeah. Yeah, but you know, again, you guys deal with,
Yeah.
Fix my
Pipe.
muffler out.
They fix a lot of that.
yeah, give it to them as a temporary fix, just another thing to sell them. And offer a solution, you know? Downtime is really expensive, as you guys know.
Right. For some reason, they don't say it's a permanent, it's a temporary fix.
Yeah.
They
Yeah,
don't say it's a permanent fix. I don't know why it wouldn't be, but,
liability,
yeah.
just in case.
But at least it'll get you running in 2 AM so that when the real guys come in during the day
Yeah.
shift, they can change it out or whatever.
Or till
Get you
shutdown.
through to the
Anything
shutdown.
until shutdown.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. You don't want that. Cool, so yeah, another option.
Do you remember what the pricing?
No, because I didn't even see the new pricing. We didn't have it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cover them all.
I'm gonna follow up with you guys. I'll send you guys the sell sheet we have and the pricing
wrap
on
around the top though.
Global offer?
it. Well, make sure to tell me a story next
It
time.
is, it is
Yeah.
global. It comes from somewhere.
Australia.
Global one's called
Global.
Le Rapid.
Yeah,
Australia.
you can include that.
Yeah, it's over the across the
called-
water.
It's called El Rapid.
Yeah, El Rapids.
Le Rapid.
It's like, oh, this looks familiar. Yeah. You guys have any questions? I'm gonna send you the brochures. I wasn't able to get the printout versions of them for FRLs, so you can.
So there's a
have
separate
that to
brochure
hand
on FRLs.
Yeah, well, we have them
Okay,
for Series 1 is our Nordgren. Series 1.
That'd
That's,
be great. for
that's
us to
probably
do
the
that.
best one to look at.
Yeah, send
So I'll
some of those
send
in,
that,
we'll
yeah.
work with
And
it.
they've got cross references from Norgren's
good.
numbers to our numbers. They're
Yep.
pretty close, but not
Yeah, they are pretty close.
100%. We shorten them up.
There's a huge market out there for this for us to just
Yeah.
do it. We're just missing it.
Fix my
now.
switch set with that.
Who's gonna sell it to them, really? You know,
Exactly, yeah. Just ask for it.
Australia.
it is Australia. Yeah, we brought that on the line. Just
But they have to wrap
we
it
can make
together.
quarterly visits.
Australia has to wrap it the other way.
Yeah. Yeah, we just started.
Is there a left and a right?
Beginning of the month of this. Yeah, so it's, yeah, but there's been a lot of interest in it. Won't work on a hose.
We'll sell it to you for half off if it is.
right.
Yeah. I think it's
Pipe
got a
repair. 2-year.
year life, or shelf life.
Yeah, so decent amount of time.
Fix your muffler.
Mm-hmm.
See?
temperature is your muffler at?
I don't know.
Just start smelling.
Hot-ish.
That's real hot.
This one's hot.
No, if it's by the smell.
That's more than 150 degrees Celsius. I'm not gonna do the math there to
No.
Fahrenheit, but
I'm no mathematician.
Just touch it and
Yeah.
see.
Yeah, next time, go ahead.
Is it hour?
Yes.
yeah, no, it's a screaming owl.
It's I can't feel my hand out.
If it's after the rear end, you might be alright.
Hey, Matt, on
Parts of the
the-
motor might be.
Do they make a
That's where your
separate for
muffler is.
sure
It's
on
at
just
the
like the air fittings and everything to go along with this, the FRLs, like the
Yeah,
the
we have an
Kingman?
inside air application.
Send some of those along too, because there's a lot of just air fittings that
Yeah.
we miss.
Yes.
From some of them we haven't been stock and everything, but a lot of people don't know we have these air fittings too that we can get, real quick. So, and they go through these because they throw airlines down, they mess the couplers up, they lose them,
Yeah.
and everything. So if you can send some of those in too, I think that's another market we're just
Yeah.
we just miss because everybody uses air. I mean, they got
Yeah.
the FRL in there, they got airlines, they got the fittings and everything,
I
and
sell a ton of dirt behind, they
So-
run over them.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I say after throwing them down on the concrete, they just get messed
standard,
up.
they just take
So
the
Yeah, they
ends.
do. And they,
Yeah.
if they
Yeah,
don't
they
know
know
that you
them.
guys offer them,
Yeah.
they're gonna get them from
Yeah.
somebody else. So yeah, I'll send you the inside air brochure on that,
Yeah.
and then
Just send us some of everything.
the FRL. Yeah, one of each. Cool.
Do you guys have a counter over there, right?
Yes.
I don't know that I've ever been in it, but is it set up with stuff?
Yes.
Is there,
Yeah,
like,
we can get a display.
We showed the Dixon store. Remember that?
Yeah.
Because that's been going really well.
Yeah.
Has it?
Yeah.
And then they have them,
And you don't
mini
have to buy
FRL
everything.
units.
I think we
Inside air.
saw that. Yeah, you have that display already set up for those.
Yeah.
You
How
don't
do you
need
do
the
that?
full thing. You can just do like, piece by piece, if you want. Just a couple different fittings. I'll send that to you also.
Might not be room for the
Yeah.
popcorn maker.
Right.
We'll
But I mean,
take it. We'll take it off
getting
your
this
hands.
even in a carded version, just to hang, behind the counter. If you
We
even
can
if
look for a
you just put one or
display,
two of them
too,
up,
because-
just to let people know.
Just to
you
start a
got
conversation.
A display would be great too. To even
Yeah.
just
Oh, we'd
give
love
them
to sell you
Yeah.
$2,000 display, sure. But if you want to go on the cheap and get it for $50, you can get a little one. But the big one's much more impressive.
Yeah.
Expensive. No, impressive. Yeah.
That's the
Both.
right word.
It's impressively expensive.
Yeah.
Once we move and get our new showroom, right?
Well, if Vic would start selling instead of quoting,
Right.
But they are good stories.
Start somewhere.
Learn a lot learned.
Vic wants a global display.
Where you got you guys are moving? Is that?
Eventually, once they put the highway through the building,
Wow.
You have to.
we pretty much have to then.
Oh, is that what?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think we're okay. We still haven't finished Mount Rose shit.
A couple years left.
Yeah, I know, I saw the
2020.
article.
That's what happens.
I
It's
saw
like,
the
oh,
article.
it's gonna happen.
I don't